Hello and welcome to episode 48 of the She.Must.Knit podcast. My name is Erin and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. I hope you guys had a great week. We had another weather-heavy week. Avery was home again 2 days this week because of bus cancellations. I think Wednesday there was an ice storm or something like that, and then I forget what there was Monday. Freezing rain, I guess. But yeah, there's been a lot of family time at home, and I cannot wait until the weather evens out again. It doesn't even have to get warm right away, just even out, just no more storms, please. But I mean, we still had a nice time, even though we were stuck inside. We got to watch some more movies. Thank goodness Netflix just released a whole bunch of movies on there, but we watched all 3 of the Kung Fu Panda movies, and they were quite enjoyable. If you have kids and you have not seen those, I recommend them, especially the 3rd one. It was, I think, my favorite, but Avery really liked them. And we've watched a few other things, and we've got lots of crafting done. So I have a lot to share with you today. What do I have? I have this month's winner for my coupon draw. I have finished objects. I have works in progress. I have spinning. I have future planning. I have my goal updates. I think I'm going to throw in a pattern highlight in there. And then if I have some time at the end, I might also do a little update about how my kind of lifestyle low-buy is going, because we're 2 months in now and I have some thoughts. So I'm going to take a quick sip of my coffee. It is key lime pie. Again, I'm still working through that one, but I really enjoy that flavor, so it's okay. And then I'm going to go right into this month's winner. So if you are a new viewer, what I like to do every month is I take all the comments made on my videos. Every comment is an entry, and then also any purchase in my website is an entry, each item. And at the end of the month, I tally up all my entries, I draw a winner, and that person gets a $20 coupon to use in my shop. It's just by way of thanking you for participating on this channel, and then also if you decide to support me through my shop, I so appreciate that as well. So I did my draw, and this month it was a YouTube comment that won, and the winner is Zoe Prue. So thank you so much, Zoe. You comment quite often as well, and again, I do appreciate it. If you want to contact me either through Ravelry or my website or Instagram, wherever you may follow me, whatever is the easiest way to contact me, just contact me through there and I will get that coupon set up for you. So next we are going to go right into finished objects. So the first finished object I have to show you, I don't actually have with me, but I did manage to get a little clip of it earlier this week, so I am going to insert that here. Hello from the past. So last week I showed you a little baby project that I was working on for someone that my husband works with. They had a new little baby and he asked me if I could knit something, and I said of course. So I had anticipated that I was going to be able to finish this project for this week. Now, I usually record on Fridays. It's Wednesday. Yesterday, Dennis was like, hey, were you able to finish that little knit that you were going to do, because I'm going to see him on Thursday? And I was like, darn it. So instead of just taking pictures and inserting those, I wanted to show it to you kind of like in person. So I'm recording this a little bit early, but yeah, I wanted to show you the finished sweater. I think it turned out really pretty. So here it is here. This is the Mignon from Loop London, and I think it turned out so cute. Like I said before, I have made this pattern before many years ago for Avery. It is just such a pleasant knit. I think it lends to a really cute design, especially for little girls. The pattern does say unisex, but I think it lends more towards little baby girls. But yeah, it's a really fun knit. So basically it's top down, and that allows you to use every little bit of yarn that you want to use, and I did. And I will tell you one of the things that I did to make sure that I could use every yard of yarn that I had. But basically you start from the top, it's top down, and the increases and the shaping are worked into the cables. So as you're doing the cables, after you've set up for the pattern, on the wrong side rows, every so many rows, you do some increases within the cables, which make the cables get bigger. It makes the garment flare out a little bit, and it all just kind of blends in, and it's just really pretty. So a few of the things that I did differently. One of them I think I mentioned last week, that the pattern is originally written for the stitches of the armholes to be taken off much later, and a lot of people comment on this in their project pages that it looks a little funny, and so I took them off just a few rows, maybe 5 rows or so earlier, and you can still tell like armholes still look a little lower than they would in maybe a typical pattern, and I did raise that up. So if I had followed the pattern exactly, this would have been even lower. I also did, so the pattern does call for the garter here and the garter on the button band. I added some garter to the sleeves. These are just supposed to be ended in like the rib pattern, and I did add garter to the hem. This was also supposed to just continue as like a rib from the cable pattern. To make sure that I could use every little bit of yarn that I possibly could, this yarn here is Holiday Yarns, and it's their DK weight. And it's 260 yards. I've had this skein in my stash for years, and I thought this was the perfect way to use it. So after I took the arm stitches off on hold, I knit about 10 rows further, and then I got a second pair of needles. So I used 4mm needles for this. I got a second set of circular needles, and I did the sleeves from the other end of the cake. So something that I often do when I'm doing another part, like in socks, if I'm doing the heel, I'll pull from the other end of the cake. I did the same thing here. I kind of flipped my cake over, pulled from the outside of the cake, and I did the sleeves. So I did both sleeves, and then I knew how much yarn exactly I had. I could use all the rest of the yarn that I had to finish the body. So then I just knit until it looked like it was getting a little low, and I started the border, and then when it looked like I had maybe, you know, 2 yards left, I did the cast off, and I ended up with the perfect amount left. It was probably about 1.5 yards. It was like enough that I didn't have to worry about yarn chicken, but I know I wouldn't have had enough to do another row. So it was like the perfect amount I stopped on. So I was able to use the whole skein for this sweater. I think it looks really, really sweet. I love how it looks with the little outfit I picked. I mentioned last week how when I'm making a little baby garment as a gift, I like to go out and find a little outfit to pair it with, so that automatically the parents have something that they can wear or dress the baby in with the knit. So it's not like, oh, they have to figure out how to wear it. There's already a little outfit, and I think it looks really, really cute. Again, it's got the little purple bunnies and the little pants. I think it complements it really, really well, and I'm so happy with that. And I'll just show you quickly the little button. I found this button in my stash. It was a leftover from a project that I made for Avery, again, many years ago, and I think I had 2 of those left. It's a little hippo, if you can't tell, but I thought the purple little hippo was kind of, yeah, it was just a little cute addition to this kind of purple spring outfit. And I think by the time the baby can wear this, so I did, this pattern only comes in one size. It's, I think, 3 to 6 month size, and the outfit that I picked out is a larger size as well. So the baby, depending on how fast she grows, I think will be able to wear this sometime in the early summer, towards the summer, even, you know, towards the end of the summer. I think this would still be very appropriate. So hopefully they'll be able to get a lot of use out of this. And like I said, I'm really happy with how this turns out. I hope they like it. And yeah, I recommend this pattern. It's very straightforward. I think it is a really, really cute result, and it's a fun knit. So yeah, back to future Erin. Thank you, past Erin. I hope you enjoyed that. The only thing I didn't mention in that little clip was that this garment in particular needs quite a bit of blocking to look at all like a normal baby item. So I will pop a picture in here. I just take a picture of it before I blocked it, just because it looks so odd. But I did need to block it more aggressively than I normally have to block baby garments, and that's mainly just because of all the ribbing and all the cables. It really constricts the fabric in. So I have mentioned previously that I prefer to spray block versus block things by soaking them, and I still was able to do that. I just had to spray it a little more heavily, and then also I had to do a little more shaping. So especially with the sleeves, they were quite constricted. What I ended up doing was finding some household items. I ended up finding some foam blocks from Avery's Toy Room that were just the right size to slip into the sleeves and hold them in the shape that I wanted while the item dried. So I did that, and I think it turned out quite nicely. Dennis took it to his friend yesterday. I forgot to ask him this morning what the reaction was, but I'll do that after he gets home from work today. But that is my first finished object, and that works towards my bingo card. We'll talk about that later. And then my second finished object has absolutely nothing to do with my bingo card. There was no way I could fit this into my goals, but I did not care, and you will see why. I also have a little bit of a sad story, and this just happened today with this item, but I mentioned, I think, a few weeks ago when I was working on Avery's catacorn sweater, and I was working on the part with the cat, with the white yarn, the same yarn. If you're a regular viewer, you know where this is going. So the white yarn that I used for the unicorn, and then I also used for the cat motif on Avery's sweater. Mr. T, my cat, Trouble, has a thing for this yarn. Every time I work with this yarn, he just goes at it. He steals it from me, he runs off with it, he digs in the bag. I constantly have to hide it from him. And I had mentioned that I should probably make him another toy with this yarn. So that's what I did this week. I decided to sit down, and I found a pattern online that I thought would be a good size for him to grab. I had in mind that, you know, it might be fun to make him like a little octopus or something that had like little legs that he could kind of grab and play with. And I ended up finding the pattern Lil Jellyfish, and it worked out perfectly. It's a free pattern. I was able to make it up in an afternoon. It's a good size, and yeah, he absolutely loves it. Now, I am so glad that I took a picture of it after I finished it, because it does not look like this anymore. And it actually wasn't too bad up until today. I was getting things ready to record today, and I had it on the table, and he was playing with it. And then within an hour, I went to get it again, and this is what it looks like now. This poor little jellyfish has had his head gnawed off. He's never done this with a toy before, so I don't know what it is about this one, but because I mean, crochet is pretty dense fabric. It's not like it's a loose fabric, but he was just able to chew a giant hole, and then there's another little hole happening here. I think I'm going to repair this though. What I'm going to do is just crochet a little, like a little square patch, and just sew it right on top of there, because he really does enjoy this toy. It does exactly what I wanted it to do. It brings him, it's so much fun watching him play with it. I actually took a little video of him the first day I finished it. After it was done, I put it on a table, and within an hour he found it and he snatched it and he ran upstairs like a little sneak, and so I followed him with my camera and I got a little clip of him playing with it for the first time. So I think I will put that in here just so that you can see how it's so cute. Of course, he's my cat, so I think he's adorable, but if you have cats, you'll understand. So I'm going to put that little clip in here and you can see him playing with it. Now, wasn't that adorable? Can you see why I need to fix this so he can keep playing with it? But yeah, so this was my other finished object. I'm going to have to just put that aside and fix that today so that he can have it back. I still have some of that yarn left. It's the Cascade 220 Superwash. I don't know what it is about that yarn, because I have other superwash yarns and he does not go after them the same way that he does with that one. It's not even like it's like a Lopi or something that's like super sheepy, but I do probably have at least half a like a ball left. I might have to make him another toy. Don't know if I should make him another jellyfish or something else, maybe a bird or something. But yeah, that's my other finished object and my slightly sad story, but it'll be fine. It's a cat toy. I'll fix it and he'll be able to play with it again. So the next thing that I have to share with you that is a finished project is some spinning. So a few weeks ago I had been talking about my current spinning project, which was working through some row legs that were sent to me from Vanessa from A Historian Knits. A friend of hers had sent them to her, but she does not spin, and so I offered to spin them for her. Now, as of 2 weeks ago, my project kind of got stalled because Mr. T, Mr. Trouble, chewed through the dye bands of my wheel, and it kind of stalled me out. But last week I talked about how I had tried to fix them myself by melting the ends of the band and then kind of bonding them back together. And this week I finally sat down to see if it would hold up. I was worried that with the pressure of actually spinning, that the band would just snap again, but it has not. I've been spinning with it all week to finish this project, and it has held up, so fingers crossed it continues to work. But Vanessa, I finished your project. So the three, I'm going to show you the three from the row legs that she sent me, and then I also picked out some fiber from my own stash to kind of supplement, so that when I sent it back to her, she would have enough to make a project, because the row legs that she sent to me, there was not a lot of fiber there for a full project. So these are the three skeins from the row legs that she sent me. So a friend had made these for her, and yeah, they're kind of special, and I just thought it would be nice if she could make something. Now, she did show in one of her recent podcasts, she had held some of these row legs back, and she made a really, really interesting kind of wall piece with them. She put them in like a shadow box, and they looked really pretty. If you're a spinner, or even if you're not, you may have seen row legs that other fiber artists have made, and they're just in their own right are very pretty, and she's given me an idea, so that might come on a future episode. But yeah, so she has some in a shadow box that she can look at all the time in her new kind of craft space, and then there are these now that she can make a little project with. So these are the three from the row legs that she sent me. And then some of the fiber that I pulled from my stash to supplement. This is one of them, and I thought because it had kind of those browns and greens, it would look really nice with it. So that's the other one. And then I think I had showed you this when I was first talking about this project. I had some row legs that I had made on my blending board that were kind of greens and purples and blues, and I thought it would go really well with this. That's what I had left off on when Mr. T broke the band. And then once I fixed it and I went back to it, I just came to the realization that I really was not enjoying spinning that fiber. It could have been because I know I made them probably about 2 years ago, so it could have just been that they've been sitting for a while. It could have been just how I blended them, you know, it wasn't very smooth, but anyway, I was not enjoying it. And so I was like, life is too short to be spinning something that is not enjoyable. So I thought I would go into my fiber stash and see if there was anything else that I could pair with these other skeins that would complement them and still give Vanessa a little bit more yarn to do something with. And I did. I found this here. So this is from a mystery, it was from a mystery shipment. So I was in a group. I'm still joined to the group, but I don't participate as much now. There's a Ravelry group that is big for spinners, and every once in a while they do these kind of spin-alongs. So there'll be a dyer who puts some fiber together, and you don't know what you're getting, but it's based on a theme. This was from one of those, and I just never ended up doing something with it. There was another half to it that was green, and I think I ended up giving that to someone, but this was left, and I thought, you know what, this I think would look really nice with it. It's got kind of the purples and blues, it's got sparkle in it, and some of these other little skeins have sparkle in it, and it was enough that it would add to the total yardage. So there's this one here, and then the three here. So I think it kind of pulls in some of those colors really nicely, so that I think it will make a nice project. I think so. So the total yardage that for all the skeins is just under 200 yards. I think that will be enough to do like a hat or a cowl or some sort of accessory. And Vanessa, I think you'll be able to do at least something with that. So I will be contacting you shortly about, I know you just moved, about sending these back to you, and I have a few other questions because I'd like to add a few other little goodies. But yeah, that project is done. And then I have said before, the best way for me to maintain my spinning motivation is to get another project on the wheel right away. Otherwise, it can just sit and I'll not spin for months. So I was like, what can I work on? Is there anything on my Crafty bingo card that has to do with spinning that I could potentially work on? And I actually have 3 goals on my card that are related to spinning. One is to spin 3 skeins of hand spun this year, so I am counting that project as 1. Another one is a pair of hand spun socks, but I do have some hand spun in my stash already that I can use for socks. And then the third one was to make a sweater that incorporates hand spun. And I was looking through my current hand spun skeins, and there weren't any that really fit what I envisioned for a sweater that incorporated hand spun. So that is what I decided to do, is to pick out some fiber with the project in mind of making some hand spun to incorporate into a sweater. So the fiber that I ended up picking is from one of my favorite Fibre dyers. She also dyes yarn, and I love her yarn as well. The tag says Totally Inked Yarn. That is her old business name. She changed it, I think last year, to Bluewater Fibre Arts, but she is a beautiful dyer, and she is in here in Ontario as well. And this happens to be one of my favorite colorways of hers. It's called Flutter. I love orange and purples and those kind of sunset colors combined, but this one adds in some teals and some grays, and it is just beautiful. So this says it's 100 grams and it's merino. It says hand wash, so I don't think this is super wash, but I am going to spin this to be a chain ply. I would like the colors to kind of stay together. I don't want it to be barber pulled, because the pattern I ended up finding, I think it would look really pretty if the colors kind of fade into one another. And I was able to actually find some yarn in my stash that I think will go well with it. So I have a sweater's quantity of this. This is Barocco Vintage. Now this is washable. It's a wool acrylic mix, but I think it'll be okay because when I wash my sweaters, I don't have to wash them very often, but when I do, I will hand wash it. So I think it'll be okay that this is non-washable and this is washable. That might come to bite me in the butt again, but for now, I just love how those two look so much. Yes, I could go out and purchase a wool yarn that will give me the same effect, but then that goes against using what I have in stash. So I'm going to try and make this work, and I'm going to be getting that spinning project started very shortly so that I can get that skein done and I have it ready for when I want to do that sweater. And that goes into my pattern highlight for this episode. I have been looking for the last couple of months, because I knew this was going to be a goal of mine, for a pattern that I could use to incorporate hand spun. So I wanted a little bit of color work, but not too much. Either along the hem or maybe a yoke. I'm not as attracted to color work yokes, but something with very minimal color work I could probably do. The other thing with yoked sweaters is that the necklines tend to come up very, very high, and I just don't find that as flattering on me. So I had picked out a pattern previously that I thought could work, but I thought I would do one last search. There's always that one last search, right? Because new patterns are coming out all the time. So I decided to do that one last search this week, and I found a pattern that I like even better than the one that I had favorited before. And this is actually a relatively new pattern, which is why I wanted to do a pattern highlight, because when I found it, it was like pages into my search. And then even when I checked today, the hot right now, the top 20, it wasn't even in there. And I think it deserves a little bit more visibility than I think it's been getting. It was released in January, so it's relatively new, and it is called Once Again, and I will pop a picture in here. I just think it is a very, very pretty design. I think the pattern, I think the styling, I think the shaping would just suit a lot of people. And then also, just like how I want to use this pattern to kind of highlight one skein of hand spun, I think it would work really well for others in that way. So even if you don't have hand spun, but maybe you have one skein of like a DK worsted weight yarn that you just love the colors of and you bought and now you don't know what to do with it, if you can pair it with like a sweater quantity of a solid, I think it would really highlight that yoke pattern really nicely. And also, if you are a spinner and you have that one skein or several one skeins of hand spun that you just don't know what to do with, this might be a really nice way to use up a skein of hand spun. So I just wanted to show this pattern. I would encourage you to go check it out. You don't have to purchase it, but just go check it out and maybe give it a little heart, because I know with the Ravelry algorithm, any kind of interaction with a pattern helps it get seen. So yeah, just go check it out, give it a little heart. I think it's a really, really pretty pattern, and I look forward to seeing how my hand spun will work up in that. So the next thing I have for you is the projects that I am currently working on. And the first one is my March Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. Today is March 1st, so I was able to cast on my March pair. I did that this morning, and I have got one repeat done. So this is the color that I am going to be working on. This is Edward Scissorhands, and this is what I have done so far. It is just the start of the cuff, but that's all right. And it is another top-down sock. You know I prefer to do toe-up socks, but I have said that this year I really want to concentrate on finding some top-down patterns, because I think, especially for my gift socks, I think top-down patterns are easier to make fit better. So I'm doing another top-down sock. It looks like it would be the same one from last month, but it is not. This is going to be the Hattu pattern. What I really liked about this is, again, it incorporates a lot of rib, which I think will help with the fit. But the shaping is done in another spot. So last month, the socks I did, the heel shaping was done on the back. And with this one, it looks like all the shaping is done on the top of the sock. So I thought that was really cool. And that is what I'm going to be trying. For now, all I have to do is a nice long ribbed cuff, so I don't even have to worry about the pattern for now. I did read through the pattern to make sure it was going to be something that wasn't going to be too complicated, because I do like to keep my challenge sock patterns fairly easy so that I don't get hung up. Like, if I did a pattern sock for my Desert Vista Dyeworks challenge, I would not finish them by the end of the month, like a heavily patterned sock. So I like them to have a little bit of interest or something different, but that I can still knit through fairly quickly. So I think this pattern will fit the bill. But yeah, this is what I have so far, and I am enjoying it. Of course, these are going to be for my brother, and hopefully next week I will have a little more. Hopefully maybe I'll be down towards the shaping so that we can see something a little more interesting happening. The other project that I've been working on this week is one that you saw several weeks ago. It is my sweater that I am working on with my Lion brand yarn. This is another one of my goals. I have several giant balls of this Lion brand yarn that I bought 2 years ago, taking up a lot of room in my stash, and I really just want to work something up in it. So I started a sweater called A Taste of Fall. It is a drops pattern, and the last time I showed this to you, I had the ribbing done. So I had just finished the ribbing here, and then you did a purl row before getting set up for the pattern. And so this week I have done everything above this purl row, and it just seems like it's this huge sweater. It's so big, it's so heavy. I'm hoping I know it's just going to be kind of a cozy hang around sweater, but I'm liking how it's working out. This color I absolutely love. It's one of the reasons I bought this yarn. I love the gray mixed with the pops of jewel tones. And yeah, you can kind of see the pattern coming out now. It's very simple. If you've ever worked a drops pattern before, they do not hold your hand. Everything is condensed into like one paragraph, but this one is fairly straightforward. It's basically you get your ribbing done, you get your patterning set up. It's a lot of like big rib sections. See, here's a knit section and then a purl section. I've got some markers in place for the chart, and it's just like, oh, keep in pattern and then do the chart for X number of times until, you know, it is, I think I have to do this now until it's 15 inches, and then I'm going to be splitting for some, like the front and the back and different things like that. So for now, this is fairly straightforward. It's actually more difficult to work on just because of the size of the needles and the size of the yarn. I'm finding that I am not able to knit with it as quickly as I do with other projects. But it's going okay, and I'm going to stick with it because I want to finish this before I start my project for the Breezy Arms cowl. So The Breezy Arms MAL make-along is the current make-along that is going on in the Bling Your String group. And basically to participate, you just have to make any garment, baby-sized up to adult, that shows at least part of the arm. So the only thing that would not be included would be a garment with full-length sleeves. As long as the sleeves, or as long as the arms are exposed in some way above the wrist, yeah, the project can be included. And whips are allowed, of course. As long as you don't have, you know, you're just binding off, you're basically done, whips are absolutely included. So I think this is a very easy along for most people to participate in. It's going to run from March to September, so regardless of where you live in the world, hopefully there'll be a garment that you can fit into your current season. I have 2 patterns picked out that I want to do for this along, and I would like your help. I would like to know which one you think that I should make. I have picked 2 patterns that I have currently in my library. That's another one of my goals, is to use patterns I already have. And then I also have some stash yarn that I can use for them. So the first pattern that I'm considering is the Cumulus blouse, and it is, I don't know if it's written for full length sleeves, but I will probably make it 3/4 length sleeves anyway. And the yarn that I have for that one is this one here. My dad visited China a few years ago. He spent a year teaching there, and he brought me back this yarn, and it is fairly thin, and the pattern calls for lace weight held double, which is why I think this will work. I have a fair bit of this. It is very soft. He told me that it is cashmere, so I don't know if it's all cashmere or part cashmere, or even if there's any cashmere. That's what he was told, but it is very soft and it is very pretty. You can see it's like this heathered olive green. It's showing up a little brighter, but it's like this heathered olive green, and I thought this would be a really, really pretty, cozy, soft sweater. So that's option number 1. And then option number 2 is this pattern that I actually wanted to make last year, I just never got around to, is the Summerline tee. So for that one, I have picked out this linen blend yarn in this beautiful teal color. So either of those patterns, I would actually like to make both. I just don't know which one I should make first. On one hand, I'm like, okay, let's be real. It's March. Yes, spring is coming, but it is not going to start getting warmer for at least another 2 months or so. So I could very easily make the Cumulus first and still get some wear out of that, and then the Summerline, because I'll be able to wear that all summer. But yeah, I don't know which one I want to do. So I'd love to hear your opinions on that. But those are the projects that I have. One of those, once I finish my Taste of Fall sweater, I will be casting on one of those. So the final thing that I have to talk to you this week about is my goals update. So I like to make goals every month, and then at the end of the month I like to just let you know what I completed and what my goals for the next month are. So for February, I actually did not give myself very many goals. I'm going to pop up a picture of the finished objects that I completed in February. And basically, my goals were to finish my February Desert Vista Dyeworks socks, which I did, to start my Lisa Ross Lots of Socks, and I did start those, finish the Catacorn sweater, and I did, and then start the Lion Brand sweater, and I did. So those were all my goals for February, and I completed all of them. Bonus projects were I finished the Lil Jellyfish, which I am now going to have to repair, and then also the spinning, so that was a bonus project. So my goals for March are going to be to finish my March Desert Vista Dyeworks socks, to finish the Lion Brand sweater, to cast on a new garment for the Breezy Arms along, finish the Lisa Ross Lots of Socks. That might be a challenge. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm having a hard time working through those socks, and I know it's because it's a patterned sock. They just take me so much longer. I just like an easy sock to knit, and the pattern is easy, but it's just not as easy as a plain vanilla sock. So I've put on here, I want to finish that pair. We'll see. I also want to start a new pair of socks for Dennis, and then to spin up the Flutter Fibre. So I want to finish that spinning project, which I should be able to do. March is a long month, and so I felt okay giving myself some larger goals, but I think that will be fine. So those are my goals for March. And then the last thing I want to talk about is just how things are going with my lifestyle low buy. So I mentioned at the beginning of the year that I was challenging myself this year to just really reduce my spending overall, but also just in terms of the household as well. So last year I did a stash challenge to try and reduce how much yarn I was bringing into my collection, and that went really well. I had a very set amount of rules in which I could purchase yarn, and I found by the end of the year that I wasn't even using those opportunities, and now I can say, like, I really just don't have the interest to impulsively purchase yarn. And I think that was the key with doing this challenge, is to curb those impulsive purchases. So that went really well last year in terms of the yarn, but I still found the other areas in my life that I like to spend money. I do enjoy shopping, and I always have. So the other parts of my life where I like to spend money were not affected at all. And just I really want this year, my focus is to use what I have, not only with my crafting materials, but everything in my house. I want to use what I have. I want to use my space better. I want to cut down on things that I'm not using, and I want to reduce what's being brought into the house. And so my goal was to not buy anything if I already had something in the house that would serve that purpose. So basically, like, if you're looking at just basic household needs, so one of the examples I gave was like shampoo. So I am not going to buy any new shampoo, even if I don't really like the shampoos that I currently have. As long as there's shampoo in the house, I'm not buying any shampoo, and so on and so on. So what I did this month in particular that I found very helpful was I went through a lot of my cupboards and my drawers and everything, and I really tried to group like things together. So I found this helpful because actually, going back to shampoo, I had in my mind that I had like 15 bottles of shampoo that I was going to have to get through this year before I could even like look at trying a new shampoo. Well, I only have like 4. And so organizing everything else was like hair products. I'm not going to need any new hair products for like 20 years, but it was very helpful to see exactly what I had. And I did the same with hand soap. I put all my hand soap in one place. I put all my, like, for the different skincare things that I had, I put each kind of category in one place so that I knew, okay, this is how many cleansers I have that I have to get through. This is how many moisturizers I have, just to give me a really clear idea. And the other thing I want to look at in terms of that is just how long do things last. I think we lose sight of this sometimes, you know, especially like, for example, the hand soap. I, like many other people, enjoy these soaps from Bath & Body Works, the foaming ones in particular, and they have sales all the time, and it's very easy to get sucked into, oh, it's like 6 for 20 bucks, right? I'm going to buy some hand soap. Well, how long does it take you to get through those hand soaps? So if you have, you know, 10 hand soaps, is that like 2 years worth? Is that 2 months worth? Like, how long do these products, how long are they going to last? So I've really started to make a mental note. I want to kind of really track how long it takes to get through something, because I think that will help in terms of when you're out shopping, being like, oh, you know, look at this great deal, this is on sale. Okay, but if you already have some, and it's already going to take six months, say, to get through one of those, do you really need to bring something else into your house right now? So that's kind of where my mind is right now in terms of just the items in my house. I'm really trying to organize things to know what I have. And then the other thing was just the budget. So I have mixed feelings about how this is going. I've given myself a budget every month for non-essentials. So basically, if something is a replacement, if I completely use up something from the house and I need to replace it, it does not have to come out of the budget. But if I decide to buy something that is not a replacement, that is not a necessity, it's got to come out of my budget. And I've given myself a very tiny budget. And that is going okay, but not perfectly. But then again, I don't expect it to. January was okay. I just went over my budget a little teeny tiny bit, and I mean, I have to factor taxes and shipping and stuff into that, so I think I did okay. February, though, I've completely blown the budget out of the water. And in one respect, I was like really disappointed in myself, But then I had to, when I really looked at what I bought, none of the things I bought were impulsive purchases. So the behavior is still different than it has been in the past. The things I bought, I had thought about quite a bit. I had weighed different options. That time, like buying it at that time, was really the best option for those items. So in that way, I still see an improvement, but I'd like to do better. So instead of beating myself up, March is a new month. We'll see how things go. But yeah, so that's kind of how things go. And then I also have to remind yourself, especially if you guys are doing any kind of challenge or habit changing, you know, things on your own, habits do not change overnight. And I have to remind myself this. Last year, I remember the first several months of the yarn challenge were so hard. I remember just yearning for things and being like, oh, why I wish I could get these things, right? I'd see these pretty yarns and I would just desperately want to be able to buy them. Months pass, thinking back about those things, I'm like, I'm perfectly fine without those things. And that kind of impulsive wanting and yearning had totally died down. So I have to remind myself that this is still early in the year and that it takes time for habits to change. It takes time for your mentality about things to change. So I'm just gonna, you know, things are the way they are. I could have done better, but I don't think I did. You know, I didn't, you know, go off the cliff and like, you know, purchase, you know, thousands of things. So I'm doing okay. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of give you an update on how things are going, my thoughts on certain things. I'm going to continue this through the rest of the year. I would love to hear about if you are doing any kind of personal challenge, if you're trying to change any habits of your own. Let me know below. What do you find helpful? Any kind of contribution that you may like to make, I would love to hear. But then, yeah, that's about it for this week. Hopefully, we'll see how March goes. I will probably do a little update maybe every few months about how things are going with this little adventure of mine. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you have a fantastic weekend and get lots of crafting done. And I will talk to you soon.